Freya Estreller to the stage. Hi guys, thank you so much for having me this morning. It's an honor being here. So this notion of a restart, right, or a refresh, or a pivot, or whatever you want to call it, I think you have to get comfortable with the notion of failure, right? Because to restart implies that you have to start, and to start something means you're gonna fail along the way. It's inevitable. I know for me in my journey, like I've had to get really comfortable with failure. In fact, when I start to feel fear or uncomfortableness or anxiety, that's actually my cue to go running towards that thing and not away from it. But it really helps to have a framework or a vision, and we'll talk about this today, a vision of success, what success means to you, to help guide you along the way. Because once you hit those challenges, those road bumps, those tiny failures, it's great to check back in with that vision, get clarity, get re-inspired, and continue to move towards the goal that you've set out to achieve, right? So having a vision is extremely powerful. And I came across this awesome visioning exercise, which I can take zero credit for. I discovered it actually on my wife's podcast called Start to Sail on Eater and Vox. It recently had Ari Weinswig, the founder of Zingerman's Deli. I don't know if you guys have heard of it, in Ann Arbor, Michigan. Really cool collective of 10 businesses. It's a co-op built on like anarchist theory. And so you have the deli, a creamery, and we also now have a company called Zing Train, which provides business training and programs for businesses all over the world. And one of the things that they teach is their unique approach to visioning. So I remember when we started Coolhaus, our first angel investor, Bobby Margolis, he started Cherokee Jeans. Remember that, like back in the day? And one of the first things he made us do was create a vision book, which I thought was a complete waste of time and money. I was like, really, we're gonna spend $10,000 creating this like slick deck, right? And he was like, no. Like, you need to put in this deck or this vision book, the heritage of Coolhaus, like how we started, right? So like we were an ice cream truck and ice cream sandwiches, where we are today, and then where we see ourselves 5 to 10 years from now. So we were like, fine, well, we reluctantly did it, and we put everything on paper. We were like, okay, so we have ice cream sandwiches now, and a truck. We want to have scoop shops. Like, we want to sell pints. We want to be sold at sports stadiums, like fucking fashion retailers. We want to be at Urban Outfitters. Like, we want millions and tens and hundreds of millions of dollars in sales. We want a cookbook. And along the way, we actually started to check these things off. And we used this vision book as a way to not only communicate this vision to like our team, our clients, potential investors, but it was really for ourselves. It made us believe that we could do it. It inspired us, and it gave us clarity during times where, there was a high, intense volatility, change, and growth. And so today we're gonna go through the steps of this visioning exercise, and it's so valuable and worthwhile, and I highly recommend it. It's all free, like if you go to zingtrain.com. But first, I'm gonna talk a little bit about my story and my journey and why I'm even up here talking about this notion of restart, right? Like, why am I up here? So, I'm gonna go first to Coolhaus, okay? Because that was kind of a shit show starting that. Like, I was 26 years old. I was living in my mom's basement studio apartment of her house. I was one of those millennials, like moved in with her parents after school. I was in credit card debt. I was spending way too much money than I had. I had a string of dead-end boyfriends, if you would even call them that, and I had epically just failed the GMAT. Like, I had gotten a 540, it was terrible. I was actually clinically depressed. I was in therapy, had been diagnosed bipolar 2, and I was doing good work. I was working as an affordable housing real estate developer in downtown, so I was doing like good work for the people, but I was not passionate about that. Like, I wanted to work in food, but I had zero experience in it. And this is 2008, like, the recession is looming upon us. Let's talk about a restart, right? I think a lot of people during this time felt this way. And I decided to take a job as a waitress after my 9-to-5 full-time real estate job. I was a waitress at this really random, like, Italian, Korean burger place called Blue Dahlia in the Arts District. Does anyone remember this place? Exactly, okay. So I was there, and then one fateful evening, I met my wife, Natasha Case. So, kind of funny story. We had met through mutual friends. She was obsessed with us becoming best friends and going to this party together. I was like, fine. We meet each other, we exchange business cards. Great. I see a friend that she had gone to high school with the day after, and I'm like, yeah, I met Natasha Case. She's like, oh, Imagineer, triathlete, architect, lesbian. And I was like, huh, interesting. Because not only was I totally unsatisfied with my professional life, I was also unsatisfied with my personal life. And I thought that I was gonna do a little experiment, like maybe I need to eliminate variables, so I should date a woman, and if that doesn't work, then I really have to work on myself. Right? So I was like, oh my God, light bulb, she can be my practice girlfriend. And so she emails me on Monday, and I think she's totally hitting on me. On Tuesday, I'm asking her out on a date. Wednesday, I'm literally professing my love to her. Thursday, we start Coolhaus, okay? So this is like, you talk about, like, you know the joke, like, what does a lesbian bring on a second date? A U-Haul. So in this story, it features an ice cream truck. So a couple months later, we bought a $2,900 beat-up postal van on Craigslist, which had no engine, but like really sick chrome rims, and launched that at Coachella. This is April 2009, and it went viral. Like, it literally was that zeitgeist of like social media and like artisanal food, and we were, rode the wave of like, as a pioneer of like the gourmet food truck movement, and also one of the pioneers of artisanal ice cream, which is like totally ubiquitous today, right? So in all due respects, like, you're like, oh my God, we made it. Like, we had taken this like really like kind of elitist art project, like architecturally inspired ice cream, like that's so bizarre and weird, and had brought it into the world. And you can kind of see this theme of me just sort of throwing myself at the unknown, from like dating a woman to the first time to starting a business with her in a field we knew nothing about with little money, okay? So I guess I was your typical, delusional entrepreneur in love, okay? And there was no fear of failure because there was nothing to lose, right? Fast forward 4 years, it's 2013, and Coolhaus is successful. Like, we are in 1,000 grocery doors at this point. We have offices in LA, New York, Miami, Austin, Dallas, 70 employees, raised a big seed round. We are profitable, 6-figure cookbook deal, like on GMA, South by Southwest activations, and I felt terrible. I hated Coolhaus, just hated it. I had made the classic entrepreneurial mistake of intertwining my self-worth with the successes and failures of my business. So I remember the culmination of this was a dinner that Natasha and I had at like Angelini Osteria, having a nice dinner over like some steak tagliata. And I look at her and I'm like, you know what? I no longer believe in you as CEO of Coolhaus. Like, this is my wife at this point. and we just stormed, we both stormed off. And I remember like, I'm on the laptop at home, writing an email to our business partner saying, I no longer want to work for Natasha. And she was like, see, you work for me. And I was like, / send. And I knew at that point, I was having a full-on mental, emotional, and physical breakdown. And I knew I had to leave the company for the sake of not only my marriage and the company, but also just my own mental well-being. And I learned that, Coolhaus had to be bigger than our relationship together, and that our relationship also at the same time had to be bigger than Coolhaus. And when I look back at that period, I think, wow, talk about a reframe and a restart. Me leaving Coolhaus actually defines my success more so than me starting it. Because I was able to create something that didn't need me, it could thrive without me, and I'm super proud of that. In fact, they now call me the first lady of Coolhaus because I have Natasha's ear at night, giving her a bunch of unsolicited advice. And really the most important thing that I learned that year was success to me, and my vision of success is not a metric. It's a feeling, okay? So, what did I do after that? Quickly, we'll wrap this up and then we'll get to the visioning exercise. But I, had to decompress a little. I watched all 17 seasons of Law & Order SVU on Netflix, and then decided, okay, what do I want to do next, right? Am I gonna go work for someone? Am I gonna start something else? Of course, because I'm a delusional entrepreneur and hence a masochist, I started another company called Ludlow's Cocktail Company, which alcohol is the hardest industry to break into if you don't know what you're doing. Again, it's something that I was like, I don't know, I'll just do this. And raised a bunch of money. We put out these really cool, artisanal, prepackaged craft cocktail Jello shots at places like Whole Foods and Total Wine and More and Break Room 86. And then I got pregnant a couple years later, and I was like, okay, I think I need to put, again, a pause on this new company I started, because when you're breastfeeding, the last thing on your mind is shilling Jello shots. So I was like, okay, well, I'm gonna do this, but now really, what am I gonna do? Another period of start and restart. And this time I kind of had a better vision of what this new life or job or success would look like for me. I mean, I gave my resume to a recruiter that we had hired previously for Coolhaus and Ludlow's. And I was like, here's my resume. I had some resume person look at it and spruce it up because I didn't even know who's gonna hire me? What am I gonna do? I don't even know how to sell myself here besides I've started companies here. And they're like, okay, cool, well, what do you want to do? Do you want to be a CEO of a company? And I was like, fuck no. I just had a baby. I don't want to be a CEO. I know for myself now, I was I just put me in operations, behind the scenes. I don't need to be the forefront. I don't need to be in the limelight. Put me in ops. And they were like, okay, well, tell me more. And I was like, well, I kind of see, I want to work for a company that is purpose-driven. I want to work in food and beverage. I want to work at a startup. I want to get my hands dirty. I want to also have flexibility at my job and also be able to leave at 5 p.m. at night because I want to spend time with my son. I don't need this thing to be, I don't want to be a founder again, right? And the cosmos aligned, and I now am at T Drops, this really cool organic tea company that makes compressed teas that dissolve in your cup. So there's no tea bag, no tea strainer. It's more eco-friendly. You drink the nutrients of your tea. And I have a great boss who like totally respects that at 5:30 I've got to leave to be with my son. And I'm doing, things now that like a founder like myself can help her achieve in her business. Helped her raise like a $1.9 million seed round, reduced COGS by 25%, opened up 2 fulfillment centers for her, all the things that, and, of course, with equity, of course. But all the things that now I'm happy to do at the service and for someone else, right? So let's talk about visioning, right? Because I think you can see here, like, I think if I were to do this visioning exercise 10 years ago, I don't think I would have envisioned the journey, but in this exercise, it's really funny and ironic. It's not about the journey, it's how you see yourself at the end and in the future. So again, I take no credit for this. This is all Ari, okay? I'm just literally just spreading the good news and word of his work. So, 1, pick your topic. I mean, it could be anything from I want to throw a dinner party on Saturday to I want to create the vision for my new startup that we're starting, okay? Pick the time frame. On the podcast, Ari talks about that he did this visioning exercise for Zingerman's 20 years ago. Okay, he looked 20 years into the future, which is now, and he checked back in with it throughout the years, and they have actually achieved that, of which he visioned out 20 years ago, which is crazy. Obviously, 5 years is a typical place to start for businesses. 3, quickly list your achievements. So you're just gonna kind of free flow here, like all the positive achievements and positive energy that you have accomplished already in right now, in the present, okay? So you've picked the topic, you picked the time frame, you've written all this good stuff, all your positive achievements. Now you need to write the actual vision, right? So he says give yourself between 15 and 30 minutes to complete the draft. It's very important that this is a draft. This is not like the final document. And that you need to follow these rules that he says that he used to roll his eyes at, but you've really got to follow the rules that are coming up if you want to get to like this better vision. So go for something great. The work here is about writing visions of greatness, okay? And I remember when we did this with Coolhaus, like we were like, we want to be the next Ben and Jerry's. Like we were just like, let's do something like so big. And this is exactly what he's talking about here. Like he's like, think like JFK going to the moon. And that if your early draft isn't scaring you, then like you have not pushed yourself far enough. Of course, write from the heart. You've got to write something that you believe in and that you love and that you're passionate about, because how are you going to get everyone else inspired? And how are you going to go back to this, read it, and re-inspire yourself? Send yourself to the future. So the way you write this is like, it has already happened. And here's an example, like someone is, you're catering a wedding this Saturday and it's a few minutes before midnight on Saturday night. The bride and groom have just headed for home. The rest of the family members are lingering. Everyone is tired but feeling good about the event. It's we are, not we will. And it's pretty descriptive. Like this is like a vivid description of the whole scene and image. And write quickly. He says that you gotta use the hot pen technique, so you just keep going, like don't stop for 15 minutes regardless. Like don't self-edit, just go. Don't be afraid to get personal. So I think this is really interesting and really important. Like, you've got to blend both the personal and professional goals here into one holistic vision, or at least one personal and one professional that are mutually supportive of each other. I think like we miss that a lot. Like, we don't want to like combine the personal with the professional, but nowadays, I mean, it is. It's work life. Like. And then you're going to write the first draft, right? And I think the most important thing here is you've written it, you've taken the 15-30 minutes, and then you put the draft aside. Like, set it aside for a couple days. Don't touch it. Step 6, review and redraft. And so I think here he's saying that like most of the stuff that you've put down you're going to use, but always keep in the back of your mind as you're reading it, does it sound inspiring? Like, do you get more excited when you're reading it? And then note that in this context, excited does not preclude anxiety about how to actually implement it. Like, ignore that, because for some of us, the two almost go together. So don't even think about like how you're gonna get there, because the vision, this is not the roadmap. Okay? This is like the actual destination. It is a very vivid description of what, you know, the vision of success looks like and feels like. It's not just gonna be a metric, it's everything else around that. It's the feeling of like when you achieve something, what your staff feels like, what your community feels like, what you feel like, your spouse, your friends, everything. And then how specific should you get? Yes, very specific. So instead of saying like, I want to be rich, it's like, okay, well, you know, put on there like an actual like salary number, or savings number, or how many houses you want, or whatever, like, or personal goal, like I want to spend more time with my kids, like it's got to be more specific, like I'm going to spend 2 weeks traveling with my kids. And then of course, if you aren't the sole decision maker in this collective vision, one technique he suggests is getting the other partners and stakeholders in the group to create their own vision. You guys all come together to obviously go through it and compare, and then obviously take common themes to combine them. 7, get input from advisors. The idea here is to keep improving it and get clarity on what you mean, because you're gonna have to communicate this to other members of your team, and so you're gonna need other people's feedback. You could feel in the weeds about it, and I think getting input from obviously other people that you trust will help you get to that clarity. And then 8, get going. Share it with everyone. Like when we made that vision book, we were like, all right, like I guess we're gonna share it with who now? Like, and we actually, it was, like I said, a great tool to share with like employees, stakeholders, clients, potential investors, friends, family. And of course he says here, having a vision of greatness in writing certainly doesn't guarantee success, nor does it not having a written vision mean you're doomed for failure, but a vision sets us up to work together toward a shared, inspiring, attainable, also challenging, positive picture of the future. And this is just, you know, he was just a skeptic, and he says that this is a way more inspiring way to do business, and it's a heck of a lot more fun, which I think, I mean, come on, like we're all trying to have fun here, right? So I think, you know, please check it out, zingtrain.com. There's a ton of free articles on there. Do this visioning exercise personally, professionally, for a project you have coming up. I think it's really valuable. That's all I have for you today. Thank you.